Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Post-Match Live with We Ain't Got No History. My name is David, and we're here for a third straight time now, following a non-win from Chelsea. On the plus side, at least it wasn't a loss, right? For a while it looked like it might actually turn into one against all odds. It was a pretty fun game for about the first 30 minutes, 35, 40 minutes even. And then it was not so much fun for the next 30 minutes. And then it was alright towards the end. Yeah, plenty of craziness for the neutrals, I'm sure. As I've seen a few reactions from neutrals, and they're all quite impressed by all the nonsense that happened in this game. For the rest of us, not nearly as much fun. On the plus side, we didn't lose, which is important. We remain mostly in control of the group. As you can see, I got all useful with the picture here and posted a table for the Champions League group stage. So we got 2 wins and a draw from the first 3 games, so we're halfway through the group here. 7 points, not bad. I would have imagined this exactly. Ideally, I would have taken this position to be in when we started. I figured we'd win against Karabag at home. I figured we'd win against Roma at home, and then hopefully get a draw against Atletico away. As it turned out, we got 2 wins in a different way and a draw in a different way. But I suppose it's all right. We have one pretty tough game left still with Roma away, and on today's evidence, we're gonna have to play a little better, especially in midfield and defense without Conte back. That could be a tall ask. Somebody was just saying, Chuck was saying that Conte covers up a lot of weaknesses in our club, and yeah, I think if we're learning one. If we haven't known this already, but surely, getting some reinforcement of this understanding that N'Golo Kante really plays like 2 people and allows us to play a 3-4-3 with just him in the midfield alongside, Bakayoko or Fabregas. I think it looked all right actually with the 3-5-2 today, which is exactly what how I would have set out the team. David Luiz, we know he can play that defensive anchor role, and he even scored his goal. Unfortunately, I think the goal kind of got him to play a bit more, or a bit less with control, I guess. And then he got hurt, and after that, he just never was quite the same. I'm not sure if he was just as a mental thing or a physical thing, but it didn't look like he was up to speed after that anymore. And I think he would have been subbed off a lot earlier if we had another option to go with. But the only other midfielder on the bench was Kyle Scott, who obviously was never going to play in this game. He was just there to make up numbers. I suppose we could have gone for a creative solution, kind of like maybe put on Rudiger and then push like Christensen into midfield, but that wasn't going to happen because Christensen did all right in the center of defense. So I don't know, we're kind of lacking options. Certainly, again in midfield, Drinkwater isn't expected to play for who knows how long. There was one report that said he might be out for another 3 weeks, which would be pretty tragic because that's basically the rest of this month and into November. And by that time, Conte would be back, so that's not very useful at all for somebody whom we signed to be our, backup ace. But yeah, so let's see. The 3-5-2, as mentioned earlier, is how I would have started. The only difference I would have made was to start with Rudiger instead of Azpilicueta, and unfortunately, that choice would have been justified because Azpilicueta had another subpar game, getting quite visibly burned by Kolarov on the first goal, and just not exactly playing up to his usual standards that we know. I wonder if Azpilicueta does get a rest at some point. He played every single game of last season, so maybe that's not very likely. But bye, Chuck. He says he's got to run. So we started in a 3-5-2, as many hoped for and expected and predicted. Courtois in goal, as always. Cahill, Christensen, and Azpilicueta across the back. David Luiz in the center of the center midfield as the anchor man. Alonso and Zappacosta as your wingbacks. Bakayoko and Fabregas as the only two fit midfielders in the team, thus playing. And then up front, we had the Morata-Hazard combination. And that did all right, actually. Hazard got his first 2 goals of the season, which is always a good thing. Chelsea started well. Morata missed a big chance early. Then David Luiz hit his pretty tremendous goal. He tried to thread a pass through to who was it, like Bakayoko or Morata in the penalty area, but the pass was rejected, and he seized the rebound and curled it right around Alisson. It was a really nice goal, and definitely should watch that highlight if you get a chance. Unfortunately, after the goal, as it so often happens, we kind of just sat back a little bit, let the other team play. It wasn't too bad, but normally when this happens, we can restrict the opponents to having the possession but not really threatening with it. That wasn't really the case today, as Roma certainly threatened quite a bit. Perotti, I think it was, the guy, their left winger, he missed, by my count, about 3 pretty decent chances, and all 3 of them he just hit right at Courtois. And in fact, they were so weak that Courtois could just catch the ball and prevent any further danger. There were a couple really good leg saves that Courtois had to make, perhaps getting inspired by David De Gea and all the plaudits that he was receiving for his leg saves. So, maybe Courtois says, anything you can do, I can do just as well. And then we got the second goal, and suddenly everything looked just fine. It was, what was the second goal? I know it was Hazard. It wasn't the header. It was the, it was the counter. The giveaway in midfield, counter through Morata. His shot was deflected, and Hazard hit that in on the bounce. Very nice finish from Hazard. Very good, good impetus going forward from the front too. Weren't really being supported by the midfielders, but whatever. It all worked out in the end. So at a 2-0, most dangerous lead, obviously, but 2-0 looked pretty good for all of the 3 minutes that it lasted. And then somehow Alexander Kolarov rolled back the years and just drove through the defense. I'm not quite sure what Azpilicueta was trying to do. He was pointing at Zappacosta to cover the outside, but then that kind of left a gap between the two players, and Kolarov split that gap, left Azpilicueta in his dust, took a shot, deflected off Christensen, which is unfortunate. I'm not sure if Courtois does any better if the shot doesn't deflect, but it's deflected up and looped a little bit over the goalkeeper. There's no way he was going to get to that one. So it's 2-1, and still it wasn't too bad. It's a bit unlucky on that, I guess. 2-1 at the half. Certainly, you would have thought Chelsea could hang on to this lead. But the first part of the second half was all Roma, and they certainly came out firing. Dzeko, who was used to be a butt of many jokes while at Manchester City, suddenly can't stop scoring. His first goal is one of the nicest hits you'll ever see. That doesn't mean we couldn't have done a little better on defending him. Christensen kind of gave him a free rein to make that run in between the two defenders to split him. He left him plenty of open space. Nobody was pressuring Fazio, who put in the Fabregas, David Luiz-esque long ball from midfield that Dzeko took first time on the volley. It's I think it was Lampard was talking on post game on BT Sport and saying he he might try that 100 times in training and score maybe a couple times from it, but there you go, he tried it once in the game and scored. So that's why he's nominated for the Ballon d'Or these days and has something like 10 goals already on the season, which is pretty ridiculous for Edin Dzeko. And then 5 minutes later, Dzeko scored again. This one, a more Dzeko-esque goal, a header off of a free kick. Another kind of cheap free kick that Bakayoko gave away. He has a habit of doing that around the penalty area late in games. This one was in the 70th minute. I mean, it wasn't like super clear cut, possibly a harsh call, but people collapse in front of your feet, they're gonna call it almost every time. And he's done this 2 or 3 times now. Bakayoko has. This time we made to pay for it. It was Kolarov with the delivery. Nobody marking Dzeko. On the replay, you can see him he did the move where you stand in the offside position, so kind of like you hope that people stop paying attention to you. And then when he saw that Kolarov was ready to start making his run-up, he kind of looped around the group of players there. There's a clutch of like 2 or 3 Roma players marked by 2 or 3 Chelsea players, and Dzeko just kind of looped around and through that group, and nobody picked him up. So he basically had a free header from a nicely delivered ball from Kolarov, and Dzeko is definitely not going to miss those chances. So there you go, from 2-0 down. Roma taking the lead at 3-2 in the 70th minute. Suddenly everything looks terrible once again. Willian came on, so people had a target for all their groans. But before then, Hazard equalized, and on a headed goal. That's if you need a one indication of just how crazy this game was, is that Eden Hazard scored a headed goal. And it was a very, very nice headed goal right into the the far corner from a Pedro cross. Pedro had come on for David Luiz around the hour mark. Chelsea had a chance to win it after that. Rudiger, who came on for Zappacosta, with Azpilicueta switching to right wing back as more of a defensive. I don't know how much of a defensive move it really was, but Rudiger missed a pretty open header. I'm not sure, he just mistimed his jump and he just headed it right over the goal when it seemed like it would be pretty easy to score. Dzeko missed a chance at the other end for his hat-trick. So in the end, 3-3 is probably a fair enough reflection. Roma had more possession, Chelsea had more shots. Pretty even, which I guess is a sad indictment in and of itself. We really should be, for whatever that's worth in sports. We should be dominating or at least winning these games, and certainly that was not on the cards today. Much of it thanks to our own fault, as usual. Certainly Kolarov's goal was a preventable one. Even if we give Dzeko his amazing world-class finish, we should not be conceding goals like that on free kicks. If there is one guy you should be marking when there is a free kick in and around your box, or at any time really, it's the guy who leads the team in goal scoring, and it's not even not even by a close margin. The guy who's nominated for the Ballon d'Or because of his goals and scores like you said, like 39 goals last season. That's a ridiculous amount of goals. So maybe mark him next time, maybe put a guy on him. I know you want to do a bit of zonal or matchup zone, but put a guy on him. Somebody. If we had Cahill, surely he can do the job. Not sure what was going on with Cahill's bandage thing. He got like a cut on his chin, it looked like. And for whatever reason, they decided to like put a sling on his head to cover this up. And then they didn't really even cover the cut. So that about sums it up for you right there, right? Who knows? Who knows? So 7 points from 3 games. Roma second in the group on 5 points. Atletico, who were in deep trouble, managed to draw 0-0 in Azerbaijan against Karabag. So they're on the outside looking at the moment, halfway through this whole thing. Yeah. Is there any scenario when we don't go through? Well, yeah, sure, there's plenty of scenarios when we don't go through. Next game is going to be huge against Roma, and it's away. If we win, we're basically in. If we lose, yeah, if we lose, then Roma on 8, us on 7. Presumably Atletico do beat Karabag at home. So then Atletico are on 5 points, and suddenly everything looks a lot tighter. It seems like Karabag are a lot tougher proposition when they're playing at home. You know, we beat them 6-0 at the Bridge on match day 1, but since then Karabag have barely lost to Roma, and now they drew with Atletico Madrid. So you know it's a long ways to Azerbaijan, and who knows what happens there. So we can't really take those 3 points for granted. So yeah, there's the draw. It leaves us in a position where we're gonna have to fight for all the points in the next set of 3 games in the Champions League group stage, which is unfortunate because we do have this schedule congestion / squad depth shortage, which isn't really improving at all. Conte not expected to be back until possibly the end of the month. Moses is out until mid-November, or until after the next international break. Morata's back, it seemed like. He played the full 90, so maybe he's good to go. But, you know, do you risk him again on Saturday? That's a lot to ask for somebody who's literally just coming back from a hamstring injury. But then, can you trust Batshuayi? Does Conte trust Batshuayi? And, you know, any place other than the League Cup, which is then coming up afterwards. So it's, you know, there's pretty much no way that Morata doesn't play again on Saturday. So hopefully his hamstrings won't give out again. Yeah, it's not exactly an ideal situation. That's why a win would have been really nice today, just to put everybody at a bit more ease. And instead, yeah. And as just confirmed, the reason, or at least part of the reason David Luiz was taking off was because he had picked up an injury in his calf, apparently, which is what the injury was that he was pointing to in the first half. So yeah, it's can't lose David Luiz at this point. Otherwise, we literally don't have any other midfielder than Fabregas and Bakayoko. And that combination is already rickety enough without adding in fatigue and playing a game every 3-4 days. Michi needs to be sold. It could be, or at least he might need to be loaned out. But the problem is we are in middle of October, and there's nothing you can do at the moment to change the squad. Even if the summer goes exactly as we plan, you know, we get maybe one more player in or whatever, or we keep Matic and we don't buy Drinkwater. The amount of injuries we've had, that's tough to account for and tough to plan for. Nobody wants to come to a team. No top level player wants to go to a team and just be emergency backup in case of injuries. So that's a tough sell for any player. Thomas Tuchel in by November. Your thoughts? Nah, I think Conte will last the season. No worries. No worries. No worries to sack anybody just yet. Our downfall this season, legs and fitness. It felt a little like the latter days of Mourinho at times this morning. Should we be worried? Well, I'm not really getting that feeling, at least not yet. If we are getting that feeling, then yes, you should be worried. Because, yeah, that might be a problem. I don't know, the losses are pretty bad. You know, the Crystal Palace loss certainly in isolation. Both losses in isolation are understandable in a way, but then coming back to back, especially after an international break, the last weekend Crystal Palace game, that was a bad showing. At least today we didn't lose, so we can say we put a stop to the losing streak. But now, of course, we have a winless streak, so all the pressure is on this weekend. So it would be pretty interesting to see the mood and the reaction to another loss this weekend. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Watford apparently are pretty good somehow this season, and they're actually above us in the table in 4th, as we're in 5th. Imagine Fabregas or Bakayoko getting injured. I'd rather not. I don't even know what we would do. Maybe you fix my hair. My hair is fantastic. What you talking about, Daniel? This is the most amount of effort I'm willing to put into my hair. Yeah, if Fabregas and Bakayoko get injured, that could be a problem. But I don't know. Maybe we could replace Fabregas with somebody. I mean, is Ampadu gonna play a bit more in the League Cup? Probably. Kyle Scott, see what he's made of. Yeah, we will be forced to play Drinkwater. That would be nice. I think we would love to play Drinkwater at this point, like all the time. If he was ever available to play, that would be nice. I'm holding out hope that he is available for the Everton game next week. I think it's next week, right? Yeah. So hopefully Drinkwater is available. We play, by default, we have to play Bakayoko and Fabregas again on the weekend against Watford. Hopefully Luis is not hurt, so he can either play in a 3-5-2 again, or we go with a 3-4-3. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see a lot more David Luiz in midfield the rest of this month in any of the tougher games. Maybe go back to a 3-4-3 against Watford, but maybe we even try something like a Fabregas Luiz in midfield or a Fabregas Bakayoko, depending on how well we rate Watford as a team. We're home on Saturday, so I'd like to see 3 forwards in the 3-4-3 again. Of course, teams kind of know how to play against that now. Even Crystal Palace were able to shut down a lot of the usual passing movements that Chelsea do in that formation. But the 3-5-2 isn't necessarily the golden egg either. So who knows? You just need a lot of people. Some of it could just be a lot of players are out of form. Willian once again, not exactly a great shift. Morata was okay in patches. Obviously, he's coming back from injury, but he also didn't get any love from the referee. In fact, he just got called a lot of fouls on him. Yeah, I'm not sure why Pedro is not playing more. Yeah, I would like to see more Pedro, just because it's not the other options that we have at the moment. Surely he can be better. Of course, there's always Charlie Musonda, but I would not expect him to start outside of the League Cup. Sorry, Charlie. Yeah, it's we have the players in outside of midfield. I mean, we have the numbers. Just need to find the players who are actually in form. I would really have to have that Matic option right now. Yeah. But, it could be, have we kept Matic over Drinkwater? There's no guarantee of injuries not happening then in that case either. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's when we after we got Drinkwater, it looked like we were set for midfield, at least in terms of numbers. Matic is better than Drinkwater. Doesn't really matter if you're hurt. Matic has shown that he's durable or whatever, but there's no guarantee that somebody else wouldn't have gotten hurt. So it's not our issues in midfield aren't necessarily that we didn't have the numbers. It's just everybody's injured. So, or it's ultimately the wrong players are injured at the moment. It's anybody else than Conte being injured is fine. And anybody else can get hurt. As long as Conte's playing, we have a chance. Since Conte's hurt, which apparently can happen, I was pretty convinced that wouldn't happen, but apparently it can. Now we're stuck with suboptimal combinations. When will Conte be back? The supposed timeline is the end of the month. So it's as we're counting, that's 4 more games that he's out, and he might be back for the game against Manchester United on November 5th, I believe. And then we head into international break. I think that's the ideal or the hopeful scenario. The slightly worse scenario is that he doesn't play in any of the games before the next international break, and then he comes back in mid-November. Yeah, so that's not ideal. I mean, when we looked at this run, we figured it was a slightly easier run than the one we just had in September, where we navigated with just the one loss to Manchester City. But so far, it's 2 games and 0 wins. So maybe we underestimated this October schedule, which will now see Chelsea play Watford at home on Saturday, as we've been talking about. Then it's Everton on next Wednesday in the League Cup. Then we go to Bournemouth in the Premier League. Then we go to Roma in the Champions League. And then it's at home to Manchester United. And then it's international break. So that's the next 5 games. And suddenly, those 5 games are looking pretty tough. Well, okay, League Cup, nobody really cares about the League Cup, but, a nice morale-boosting victory would be nice, plus a chance to rotate, put in all the players who are not playing these days. Give the start to Ampadu and all those guys, get Charlie Musonda out there, whatever. But Watford at home, possibly dangerous. Bournemouth away, we should be able to beat Bournemouth, but can we really say should anything these days? Roma away is going to be hard, and then United at home. So, yeah. And the Watford game is the early kickoff, which is super annoying. But yeah. Bakayoko was very average today, says Dolapo. Half-fit Morata is better than 100% fit Michi. That might be true. Half-fit Morata is certainly more dangerous than Michi. Bakayoko, I wasn't too impressed by Bakayoko today. When he gets on the ball and he shows off his strength, that's someone that is pretty glorious. But he has a habit of some poor giveaways and those poor free kicks that the lazy fouls that he commits. Maybe that'll he'll work that out with age later. Do you think Chalva might be regretting jumping ship in the summer, considering how much we need midfielders this season? This period could have been the opportunity needed at Chelsea all along. I hope he does. I'm pretty sure that we were counting on Chalobah to be our fourth midfielder. But maybe we weren't. Maybe the front office was counting on this, and then Conte said, "No, I can't trust him as my fourth midfielder." So then Chalobah said, "Yeah, I had enough of this," and off I go. I don't know. I think as long as he's playing, I'm not sure he's regretting anything. And I think when he's been fit, he's basically been a starter for them. So he's probably fine with this decision right now. But we certainly could use a healthy pair of legs in midfield right now, other than Fabregas and Bakayoko. We have to bench Willian permanently. Permanently? Oh no. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about permanently, but certainly would like to see Pedro start a couple of games. Just to see what happens if we're going with a 3-4-3. If we're going with a 3-5-2, then it's it's Morata and Hazard. That's a pretty easy call. But yeah, Pedro Willian. At this point, it really should be who's better, who's playing better. And Conte seems to think that Willian's playing better. So there you go. I am sure everybody disagrees, but that seems to be the coach's decision. We have like 60 players loaned out, so maybe we can call somebody back. That's only about 30. It's only about 30. But no, we can't. You can't recall any loan players until January. So yeah, it's the only players we could add at this point are players who are in the team or in the academy or in the under 23 squad, or players who are free agents, unattached. Then you can sign those up and get them registered. But yeah, I don't think any of those players would improve with the squad at the moment. Yeah. Who has forward to the winter window? Who are we looking for is the question. Yeah, I think we'll be looking for the usual places for reinforcement. Probably a striker, either in addition to or in place of Batshuayi. At this point, that seems pretty clear. Of course, we have 2 months until January, so maybe Batshuayi can find the form that he found at the end of last season and over preseason. Because I'm not sure what happened since then, but it's not been great. Oh, here you go. Here's something concerning for you. Conte says that David Luiz had pain in his calf, so we took him off, which is fine. But Bakayoko also had pain in his groin. All right, more injuries. Ugh. Yes, left back, as Connor says, we certainly need a proper backup for Alonso, because somehow Alonso is putting in like the miles. Literally, he's putting in so much running. He's playing almost every game, and we'll probably see Kennedy next weekend against Everton. But who's gonna play left back against Watford? Alonso. Who's going to play left back next weekend? Alonso. Anytime it's not a League Cup game, it's going to be Marcus Alonso. So hopefully he doesn't kill himself over there, or lose a leg or break a hamstring, groin, another muscle injury. All these muscle injuries that come from workload and fatigue and lack of recovery time between games, things like that. What about Baba on left back is the question for Patrick. Baba Rahman is still recovering from his ACL injury, and he's not registered to play in the Premier League or the Champions League, I believe. He's on the Premier League website as part of the Chelsea squad, but nobody ever confirmed that he was added later, and you can't just go in and add players in the middle of the season. I think I would not be surprised if Baba Rahman also gets loaned out in January just to get a rehab assignment with like Schalke or whoever was interested in him in the summer. So yeah, Baba Rahman might be a decent option at left wing back at some point, but not right now, unfortunately. So yeah, right now it's Kennedy, and Kennedy is yeah, not something you want to see outside of a League Cup. What happened to Aspie's immaculate form from last year? That is a very, very good question. And I'm not sure anybody knows an answer or has really an idea what happened to Azpilicueta. It's the last time, the only one and only time I recall Azpilicueta not playing well for a decent stretch of time for Chelsea was in the 2015-16 season, which was the season we don't talk about under Mourinho. And part of the reason Azpilicueta kind of got away with it is because everybody was concentrating on Ivanovic being terrible on the other wing or the other fullback position. So, you know, relatively speaking, Azpilicueta was better than Ivanovic, but he was, you know, just as out of form and just as poor as the rest of the squad, really. And then last year, you know, he put together one of the best seasons we've seen from a Chelsea defender. You know, Conte called him the best in that position, or one of the best in the world in that position. This season, yeah, it's and it's not even so much just the one-on-one. I mean, eventually everybody will get beat one-on-one. But of course, Azpilicueta was known as the best, certainly one of the best one-on-one defenders in the Premier League when he was playing left back. You know, he was almost unbeatable, and just it was just sad to watch him get burned by Kolarov today, for example. Or what was it? Ramsey against Arsenal did it. There was some other. It's happened about 3 or 4 times now in the last month and a half. And yeah, I mean, it could be at fault, or it could be a tiredness or injury. Azpilicueta played every minute of every game last season in the Premier League, but of course we had a full week to recover between each game last season, and that's the rarity this season. With midweek either league or either cup games or Champions League games. Yeah. There's not quite the same amount of time to recover. So, you know, maybe it is. Maybe it's just bad luck. Maybe it's just poor form. Maybe it's fatigue. If I had all the answers, if I was so clairvoyant, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be involved in some level, or not. Who knows? Conte doesn't want to make excuses on injuries. Well, that's good, I guess. He just need to, I don't know. It's a tough position to be in, as he was saying. You know, it's easy to say that we should rotate the squad, but you know, if he makes the bold call to for example, not play Morata or whatever, or not play Fabregas even, and if we lose, and that's he certainly would be coming under more criticism, I think, than if we don't get a winner or don't get 3 points or don't get a win playing making the obvious choices. And so maybe some of that is playing safe. Maybe some of it is actually what he truly believes. And we have to believe that you know, the number one goal for Conte is to win a game. So theoretically, he will be always playing the lineup that will give him the best chance to do that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call. A 3-5-2 formation is not helping us. We should play our normal 3-4-3. I mean, you say that, but after we switched to a 3-4-3, we conceded 2 goals. So, you know, who knows? I don't know, I think the 3-5-2 worked pretty well for a while, but then just conceded some pretty stupid goals. And then David Luiz getting hurt, definitely, it ruined that plan. Without him on the pitch, there's no way we could have played a 3-5-2. I mean, I guess maybe we could have tried something like Willian in midfield. I don't know. Willian never played midfield like that in the 3. Maybe back in the day. Maybe could try Kyle Scott in midfield. Could be pretty bad. Imagine if Conte puts on Kyle Scott in the 60th minute for David Luiz and we go on to lose the game anyway. I don't even want to imagine the reactions to that. So yeah, we now have Thursday and Friday basically to get at least 2 healthy midfielders. As much as some people dislike Fabregas, the one thing he's got going for him is the man doesn't get hurt. He was injured at the first part of last season. Since then, I mean, he's just this conditioning under Conte. It just can't hurt him. Of course, then I'm sure there's an obvious joke about running in there or whatever, but Fabregas routinely covers the most distance in a game. Obviously, distance doesn't necessarily translate to sprinting or anything like that, but Fabregas, he's in good shape. He's just not really a defensive midfielder, and at this point, he's not going to become one. Given the current situation with all the other midfielders, I think might want to make your peace with more Fabregas more of the time. He just needs to develop the same special relationship we had with Costa, with Morata, or whoever can make those runs for him. So maybe, oh dear, I thought Mikel was the worst midfielder we're gonna have. Bakayoko is just way too clueless. I don't know. Both of those opinions are pretty harsh, man. I don't know. You may think what you want, but Mikel played hundreds of games for this club under many, many different managers, and some of the biggest games we've ever played. To call him the worst midfielder we're ever gonna have, that's pretty wrong. Yeah, could use somebody like Mikel right now. In fact, for the base of the midfield 3, that'd be pretty perfect. That's the Mikel position at Chelsea. He plays a little further forward for Nigeria usually, but at Chelsea that was perfect. Who doesn't like Mikel? Come on, man, don't be a hater. I like that Bakayoko seems to run the full gamut of ratings here, from like worst midfielder to playing well to best player on the pitch. Opinions, eh? Why wasn't Conte playing again? That was because Conte is injured. Conte is one of the several players right now, key players, who are hurt with various muscle injuries. Conte, Moses, David Luiz picked up a calf thing today, which hopefully isn't too bad. That's why he was substituted. And apparently Bakayoko has a groin thing. And all the questions about Baba Rahman also come back to an injury. He is recovering still from a ligament, the ACL injury that he suffered last January, and he is also not registered to play, I believe, in either the Premier League or the Champions League. So even if he came back, we couldn't really play him because he wasn't part of the original squad submitted in any case. Oh, more Mikel haters. Come on, guys. Conte on crutches could probably still do a decent job. At this point, he might have to. I think I don't know. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what the rules say about playing on crutches. Possibly an unfair advantage when you hack down somebody with it. But oh well. Oh well. Yeah, all right. I think that's good enough for us here. Apparently, now we're having a war of words with Conte and Mourinho, so that's super fun. More crap to worry about. Well, the only thing we should be worried about really is getting the win this weekend. So, not much time to get it all. Drinkwater coming back is unclear. It won't be this weekend though, so it might be next week. It might be another 3 weeks. It might be another month. Yeah, just another injury to worry about. His is a calf injury as well, I believe, so that's fun. Anyway, so next week, in just 3 days, in fact, we're playing Watford at home. Early kickoff on Saturday. So between now and then, everybody needs to recover and get healthy and get fit as much as possible. Watford are in a pretty decent moment, so it probably won't be an easy game. But what game ever is. Today, it's only a draw for Chelsea, 3-3. It was a pretty silly game, especially for a neutral, as I understand. Unfortunately, we're not neutral, so for us it was a bit more frustrating experience. But at least we came back for the draw at the end, and got Hazard's first 2 goals of the season on board as well. Those are all positives we can build on. Morata looked all right. For stretches, we looked pretty good in both the 3-5-2 and the 3-4-3. David Luiz's possible injury is yet another concern. Bakayoko's possible injury is yet another concern. Chelsea are now 3 games winless. Another concern. Do I think Roma deserved the draw? I think it was I think the 3-3 is a pretty fair reflection of the balance of the game. Roma had more possession and at times certainly threatened quite a lot. If their left winger Perotti is a decent finisher, we might be in trouble because he had several decent chances. Courtois made 2 really good saves with his legs. One's on the 9-goal chance, and then another one on a cross that looked like it was going to be a tap-in for Dzeko. So, yeah, I think both teams had had plenty of chances, as we debate over Mikel in the comments. Both teams had plenty of chances. I think Chelsea had more shots. I don't know if they were more threatening or whatever. I haven't seen the expected goals numbers, but 3-3 I think is fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen it both ways. I've seen, Roma should have won, Chelsea should have won. So it's pretty even, I think. 3-3, it is what it is. 1 point better than 0 points, right? So Watford on Saturday, and I'm sure we'll talk to you after that. So if you watched any part of this, or all of this, or debated over Mikel in the comments, thanks for watching, and go check out the website, etc., etc. I'll talk to you later.